Hello everyone, we'll just start the session in 15 seconds. So good evening and warm welcome to all educators joining us today. On behalf of Center, we are delighted to have you with us for another insightful session in our ongoing Center webinar series for teachers, a space where passionate educators come together to learn, reflect, and grow professionally. We are very proud to share that we recently celebrated our 310th Centaur, and today we welcome you to the next milestone, the 312th Centaur. Your presence and participation continue to inspire us as we build a stronger, more empowered teaching community. This evening session addresses a very deeply important and timely logic topic that affects every educator, regardless of experience or role. The topic for today is raising ethical thinkers in a complex world. So now it is our pleasure to introduce the facilitator for this informative session. Our facilitator for today is Ms. Savita Mall. We are pleased to welcome Ms. Savita Mall. Hello, ma'am. So, Ms. Savita Mall is the Vice Principal Academics at City Montessori School, Lucknow. With more than 22 years of experience, she has been at the forefront of introducing innovative practices in teaching, learning, and assessment across CBSE and ICSE schools. A Center certified trainer, a Google certified educator, and Canvas Center for India, she has conducted impactful webinars and master classes on experiential learning, active strategies, and holistic assessments. Recipient of the Innovative Teacher Award, Savita has also led key initiatives as an ELT coordinator, PLC facilitator, and campus improvement committee member. Also participants, please share your queries and insights throughout the session and participate in both the audio and for 30 seconds. Now back to the session. Welcome Mark, welcome Sir Kamal. Once again, over to you, Mark.
Thank you very much, Anjali, for that kind introduction. Dear participants, I would like to extend a very warm welcome to you all. I'm truly delighted to have you here today once again with me as we explore together something that is at the heart of education, ethical thinking. We are going to talk about how we can nurture these crucial aspects in our learners, starting from the early years, and how the National Education Policy 2020 gives us a guiding light. Whether you are from India or elsewhere, the core message remains globally relevant. How can we help our children make the right choices in a world that is constantly changing? Today, we explore how children across age groups encounter complex moral choices and how we, as educators, can become facilitators of ethical thinking. So, let us begin. The global ethical crisis in children. Globally, children are struggling with ethical decisions, often without guidance. Across classrooms worldwide, teachers are noticing worrying patterns, a rise in bullying, dishonesty in classwork, impulsive decision making, and an overall decrease in empathetic behavior. Children are often navigating adult like dilemmas through the media, yet they don't have the moral scaffolding to cope. A 2021 UNICEF report highlights how online misinformation impacts decision making in teenagers. Dear friends, children today are learning from everywhere: YouTube shorts, Instagram reels, gaming chats, and conversations at home. Imagine a situation. What happens when a parent fakes a sick call to skip a social event? Or when a child sees that no one apologizes after a fight in school? They learn that it is okay to avoid accountability. We can't rely on hope that they will learn the right thing someday. We have to teach it intentionally. Children are not born unethical, they imitate what they see. If a child hears an adult casually lie, they internalize it as acceptable. However, if they see empathy being praised, they begin to value it. These kids aren't intentionally behaving in this way. They are untrained in ethical thinking. And so, schools must step up. Let us understand what are the root causes. Let us be clear, the child is not the problem, the environment is. Often adults discipline, but they don't explain. A child breaks a rule, gets punished, but never understands why it matters. Research from CASEL shows social emotional learning reduces behavior issues by 27%. Dear friends, we need guidance based education, not rule based control. The role of school is very important. Schools must become more than academic centers. They have to be moral ecosystems. Children spend more waking hours with teachers than parents. Just imagine a grade 2 teacher who encourages apology and empathy in class conflicts. This small act slowly becomes a habit. Ethical literacy is as foundational as reading and maths, and NEP says the same. The modern school but must not just be a place of learning subjects. It is a place of learning life. Our job isn't just to produce high scorers, but ethical citizens. A maths teacher teaching honesty in checking answers, or a sport coach modeling fairness. Every role is an ethical one. In today's rapidly changing world, schools must become safe spaces for children to practice empathy, respect, and fairness. Teaching ethics is no longer optional, it's essential because the decisions children make today shape the kind of adults they will become tomorrow. If a child learns to say, I made a mistake, instead of hiding it, that is the real success. What does it mean to be ethical today? Being ethical isn't about blindly following rules. It's about choosing right when no one is watching. In early years, ethics is sharing toys fairly. For teens, it is choosing not to cheat even under stress. Studies show that students who are trained in ethical reflection perform better socially and academically. Every day in our classrooms, we make choices, sometimes without realizing how big those choices are. For example, imagine a student forgets his homework. What do we do? Do we give him another chance or just stick to the rule? Or maybe two students had an argument during recess. How do we help them solve it so that both feel heard? These are small moments, but they teach our students a lot about fairness and respect. In today's world, where students come from many backgrounds, beliefs, and experiences, talking to them about what is right and wrong helps them become better people. If we, as teachers, try to be honest and caring, our students learn to be that way too. They watch us and they copy us. Ethical decision making also means thinking about what is fair for everyone. For example, when marking papers, we give everyone equal attention. When planning trips or activities, we make sure every child feels included. When we share these experiences and talk about these choices with our students, We help them grow and to make thoughtful, fair decisions in their own lives, whether they become doctors, artists, shopkeepers, or teachers themselves. Here, I would like to pause and take a moment to hear from you. So, I request you all to participate in a quick poll question. The question is, which ethical skill do you find most difficult to teach? Is it empathy, honesty, conflict resolution, or digital responsibility? So I repeat my question once again. Which ethical skill do you find most difficult to teach? Empathy, honesty, conflict resolution, or digital responsibility?
Dear participants, the poll is up. It is open for 30 seconds.
So I can see the result here. Most people have selected empathy. Next is conflict resolution, digital responsibility, and honesty. Thank you for answering, dear participants. The poll result shows that every skill, whether it is being kind or telling the truth, solving fights, or using the internet safely, can be hard to teach. What matters most is that we keep trying and show these values to our students every day. Let us move forward and understand what does NEP, that is National Education Policy 2020, says about ethics. NEP 2020 doesn't treat ethics as an extra. It gives equal weight to emotional, social, and ethical development right from early childhood. NEP mentions these values explicitly. It emphasizes children must learn through values, not just textbooks. And what is more powerful, it doesn't ask us to lecture on ethics. It encourages experiential learning, storytelling, games, and community based learning. India's NEP 2020 has redefined the purpose of education. It clearly integrates ethical and moral development as key learning outcomes. For example, using folk tales or real life situations in class is encouraged. These are powerful ways to spark ethical discussions. NEP emphasizes that we cannot just tell children to be good. We must guide them to understand why goodness matters. This isn't just about India. This approach is a global necessity. It is not only NEP that emphasizes ethical reasoning. Ethical decision making is also embedded in major global education framework. CASEL, Collaborative for Academic, Social and Emotional Learning, is an organization in the US that guides school on how to build social and emotional learning. They focus on skills like knowing yourself, controlling emotions, building good relationships, and making responsible decisions. CASEL's SEL competencies like self-awareness and responsible decision making aligns with our goals. UNESCO also calls for education that supports justice and sustainability. An OECD, Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, is an international group of countries that works together on policies to improve life, learning, and work. In educational field, the OECD talks about global competencies, students learning how to understand the world, respect different cultures, and act responsibly in a socially connected world. Role of educators in ethical modeling is very important. Educators can't teach ethics without living them. If we lose our temper, we must apologize. If we witness bullying, we must intervene. Our silence speaks too. Modeling includes how we treat our staff, address students' mistakes, or explain tough grading choices. Children watch everything. We must remember that ethical classroom begin with ethical adults. Let us understand what great thinkers say about ethics. Ethics can be taken as a tool that helps us create difference between a good decision and a bad one. Ethics is the branch of philosophy that asks the practical question, what should we do? Ethics try to help us define the conditions of a good choice and then figure out which of our available options is the best one. We as educators must tell students every time we make a choice, we change the world. We must ask our students, what kind of world do you want to live in? Whether you make many choices in a day or just one, what is important is that you make choices that are good and right, choices you can justify, ones you can be proud of. That what makes the choices actively yours. In the field of ethical decision making, many great thinkers have contributed valuable insights. Immanuel Kant laid the philosophical groundwork with his idea of duty and universal moral laws. Lawrence Kohlberg helped us understand how moral reasoning develops as people grow, and James Rest proposed his four-component model of moral development. Today, dear friends, I want to specially highlight the work of James Rest and Lawrence Kohlberg. James Rest's four-component model is among the most useful and relevant framework for us as educators. Rest broke ethical behavior down into four essential parts: recognizing the ethical issue, making a moral judgment, having the motivation to do what is right, and having the character to follow through. This model not only deepens our understanding of how ethical decisions happen, but they also guide how we can teach these skills step by step to our students. For anyone interested in teaching ethics effectively, Rest's work offers both a practical guide and an inspiring example. Let us delve a little deeper into what Rest explains. Let us walk through each step with an example of bullying. The first one is moral sensitivity. This is about noticing and recognizing the ethical issue. In this case, the example of bullying, the student realizes a classmate is being bullied and understands it is wrong. Without this first step, that is awareness, no ethical action can begin. Next, after realizing that there is a moral issue, is moral judgment. Here, the student thinks about what is the right thing to do. They decide that standing up for the bullied classmate is ethical choice. This reflects their ability to reason morally and weigh different options. Next comes moral motivation. This step is about choosing values over comfort or convenience. Even if others might tease, the student still chooses to defend the classmate. It shows that doing the right thing matters more to them than trying to fit in. And the last is moral character. It is the final step. It is not enough just to decide. We need the courage and strength to follow through. The student continues to support the bullied classmate even when peer pressure is making it hard. This is where action proves values. What this model shows us is that ethical behavior is not one simple choice, it's a process. As educators, our role is to help students grow in all four areas: awareness, reasoning, motivation, and finally the courage. Dear educators, let us now talk about the work of Lawrence Kohlberg. Another important work in this field is by Lawrence Kohlberg. He discovered that as children and adults mature, the reasoning they use about right and wrong changes in predictable stages. These are organized into three main levels, each with two stages. As you observe this slide, let us understand these stages. The first one is pre-conventional level. Stage 1, obedience and punishment. Children make decisions to avoid punishment. For example, a child thinks, I won't hit because I'll get scolded. Or a young child returns a toy to avoid punishment. Stage 2 is self-interest. What is in it for me? Choices are based on personal gain. For example, I'll help you if you give me something in return. A child shares because he believes he will get a reward after that. Now, the next level is conventional level. Good boy or nice girl, pleasing others, social acceptance. People behave in ways that make others happy to gain approval. For example, I'll share my lunch so my friends like me. Or a teen helps a friend because it is the right thing and others expect it. The next stage is law and order, maintaining rule. We are progressing from simpler stages to more complex stages. Right and wrong are seen in terms of rules and laws in this stage. For example, I must follow traffic rules because they will keep order. Or a student follows class rules even if no one is watching, because that will again help in maintaining law and order. Now we move to the last two most developed stages, that is post conventional. Stage 5, social contract, upholding fairness and rights. In this stage, decisions are made based on fairness, rights, and the greater good, even if rules must be questioned. For example, everyone deserves equal chances, so unfair rules should be changed. And then stage 6, universal principles, where we talk about justice, universal ethics. Moral choices in this stage come from deep principles like justice and equality, even if laws disagree. For example, I must stand up for human rights, even if the law is against it. Or a student questions an unfair school policy just because it is unfair. Lawrence Kohlberg's moral dilemma method is also widely used approach in education to promote ethical reasoning and moral development in students. Let's understand this. This method involves presenting students with an ethical dilemma, stories that pose ethical conflicts, and encouraging them to discuss and justify their responses. The focus is on the reasoning behind acts, not the specific decisions themselves. Let us understand how this moral dilemma method works. There are steps. The first step is presenting the dilemma. Teachers introduce a scenario involving a moral conflict. There is a classic example that I want to share with you all. It is called Heinz dilemma. Heinz must decide whether to steal a drug he can't afford to save his dying wife. This dilemma is presented in front of the students, and then they are asked, should Heinz have stolen the drug? And are prompted to explain their reasoning, not just their answer. Step 2 is probing questions. Teachers follow up with why and what if questions. Would it make a difference if Heinz didn't love his wife? Another question can be, what if the person needing the drug was not a friend or relative or wife and he was a stranger? Should the chemist who refused to give the drug be punished if the person dies? The next step is discussion. The classroom discusses different viewpoints with the teacher guiding but not dictating the conversation. The aim here for students is to encounter perspectives that challenge their own reasoning. Classrooms across the world use this method, but in an age-appropriate manner. For early years and primary schools, the dilemmas are simpler. For young children, the scenarios might be, if you find a lost toy, what should you do? Or maybe, should you tell the truth if it means someone gets in trouble? These encourage honesty, empathy, and understanding the consequences. The secondary schools will have complex dilemmas. Like for older students, we can have complex scenarios such as returning a found wallet full of cash, standing up to the authority when asked to do something wrong, or responses to discrimination. Students engage in debates, analyze multiple perspectives, and justify their reasoning according to the societal rules, empathy, or universal ethical principles. Here, I would also like to talk about another powerful method, that is Blatt-Kohlberg discussions. It is slightly different from the dilemma discussion circles. This method uses group discussions where dilemmas are debated and the teacher challenges students to think at a reasoning level that is just above their current stage, according to the 6 stages that we discussed just now. So, for example, discussing a scenario, if Mr. Jones was justified in stealing a car to save his injured child, allowing students to argue and grapple with conflicting values. Let us understand the difference more clearly between the two. In a Kohlberg dilemma discussion circle, students might be asked, should Heinz have stolen the drug to save his wife? Students share their reasons, such as a student might say, no, because stealing is wrong and he will be punished. This shows that the child is at stage 1 of moral development because he's talking in terms of punishment. Or another child may say yes because he loves his wife and he should help her. The child here is at stage 3. But here, the teacher is not pushing their thinking further. However, in a Blatt Kohlberg discussion, if a student gives a stage 1 answer, he shouldn't steal because stealing is against the law and he will be punished. The teacher deliberately introduces a more advanced perspective. For example, but what if saving a life is more important than breaking the law? Now, this pushes the child, the student, to think at stage 3 or maybe 4, because now he's considering deeper reasons like human needs or social order, not just rules or punishment. Here, the goal is to gently confront and challenge their reasoning so that they progress to higher level of moral thinking. So, dear friends, understand the key difference. Blatt-Kohlberg method actively challenges and extends students' reasoning with targeted higher stage argument using the Heinz case, while dilemma circles simply let students share and reflect without intentional cognitive challenge. So it depends upon the teacher and the age group of the students with whom we are dealing, which option, which activity to select. There are a few more activities that can be selected. One example is just community approach. Some schools adopt the just community approach, which is a whole school strategy where students participate in a democratic governance, deciding on school norms, mediating conflicts, and having a voice in disciplinary decisions. This real world moral engagement helps promote advanced moral reasoning and a sense of belonging. Teachers in countries across the world have adopted Kohlberg's moral dilemma method, tailoring dilemmas to cultural context and student age. That is very important. The dilemmas must be age appropriate. Moral dilemmas discussions are embedded in ethics, citizenship, and character education curricula. And many educators use them to cultivate empathy, justice, and a reasoned approach to ethical issues. The impact is great. This promotes moral reasoning as the students learn to justify their decisions and consider diverse ethical viewpoints. It also develops perspective taking, as through debate, children understand the feelings and motivations of others. If someone acted in a particular manner, why did he do that? So that motivation of others is understood by children. It also fosters democratic values. As we involve students in rule making and ethical problem solving, it encourages responsibility and fairness. We as educators must understand the goal is not to diagnose the kids, but to recognize that students are growing in their thinking about right and wrong. This helps teachers respond with age appropriate guidance and create a classroom. It isn't about fostering discussions to support growth, it is not judgment. And we as teachers must remember everyone moves through the stage, different stages of moral development at their own pace. By encouraging discussions and moral reasonings, teachers help students progress and become thoughtful, ethical individuals. Let us now understand why it is important to start early. Dear friends, if we wait until teenage years to train our students in ethical behavior, we will miss the opportunity. Ethics must be built like literacy, step by step. A 4-year-old learning to wait for his turn is laying the groundwork for fairness. A 6-year-old helping a peer up after a fall is absorbing empathy. These may seem like small moments, but they shape character. Let us nurture ethical sensitivity just like reading and writing. Studies from Harvard's Making Caring Common project show routines and stories are powerful ethical teaching tools at this age. Let us understand with a few examples of routines that can be used by teachers. The first one is daily gratitude check ins. Each morning, teachers may ask students to name one person they are thankful for or one kind act they noticed. This builds empathy and awareness. Another activity can be high and low circles. At the end of the day or week, as time allows you to do, teachers make students share a positive and a challenging moment. So students talk about a positive moment or maybe a moment when they face some kind of difficulty or a challenge. This routine normalizes empathy, listening, and problem solving. Yet another activity can be compliment chain. One student gives a genuine compliment to another, who then passes it on. This is simple, but creates a culture of respect and kindness. Another impactful thing that can be used are stories. They also prove very useful at this young age. Short moral stories or fables can be used. Stories like The Boy Who Cried Wolf, that is based on honesty, or The Good Samaritan, based on helping others. Such stories spark natural ethical discussions. Even contemporary stories or news snippets can be used, but they should be age appropriate. Like example of a young person who returned lost money. Students connect ethics with the real world. Students themselves can be invited to tell stories. They can be invited to share a time they faced a tough choice. Peers then discuss what values were involved and how they might respond. These approaches are powerful because they are simple, repeatable, and relatable. And research show that children learn ethics best not through lectures but through daily practice and shared stories. Now let's move on to the next age group, that is pre-nursery to grade 2. At this stage, ethical training should be kept simple. Teachers may use puppets and stories to show conflict and let children suggest solutions. Teachers may assign rotating jobs like handing out materials or helping out peers to build a sense of responsibility. Circle time can be used to reflect. How did we help someone today? Teachers can have a kindness tree in their classroom where the students mention whom they helped and how, or how were they helped by others. Imagine if a grade 2 teacher uses a story called Raju and the Cookie Jar, where Raju eats the cookies and blames his sisters. Now, the teacher doesn't tell the student what is right or wrong. Instead, she asks, "What do you think?" and let children debate. This would promote moral reasoning. Primary years. At this stage, peer groups matter a lot. Children start seeing rules as negotiable. They will say, but others did it too. Teachers can use reflective journals to let students unpack feelings after a conflict. Circle time discussions allow them to hear different perspectives. Children here can handle more complex situations. Teachers may give a prompt like, what do you do if your best friend cheated on a test? Let them write, draw, or speak. Discussing moral dilemmas build their ethical muscles. Teachers may create a truth box. Ask students to write down situations they struggled with and anonymously. It is not necessary for them to write their names. Then the students discuss them using stories. It would help them realize that everyone faces moral struggles. It is not only that they face challenges, and it is okay to talk about them. For example, in this age group, if you want to use James Rest 4-component model with the children at this age, keep the prompt simple. So let's discuss one example. The teacher presents this scenario. A group is leaving a student out of a game and then asks the students, do you join it, stay silent, or include that student? So the first step is recognizing the issue. You may ask the children, is this exclusion? The second step is to judge what is fair to everyone. The next step comes motivation. Ask the students why they must stand up for someone even if the other friends tease you. And finally, to have the courage to act. How can I include the student kindly? This step-by-step approach strengthens students' ethical reasoning. Middle school, grades 6 to 8. Children at this stage begin exploring why. They feel something is right or wrong. Use simple ethical games. Example of one very popular game is Would You Rather, and it is presented with a moral dilemma. One example can be, would you rather share the answer sheet of your test with a struggling classmate or encourage them to study with you after school to prepare for the next test? Let the students choose. After they choose, teacher may ask, which option is more fair? Which one shows honesty and helps your friend in the long run? Encourage them to reflect in journals. The students may write, today I chose to be kind when so and so happened, or I felt bad when I did something. Even small reflections matter. Teens are pushing boundaries. They are figuring out who they are. A grade 7 student might spread a rumor online without realizing the emotional impact. Debates about real dilemmas, such as, is it okay to lie to protect a friend, allows them to explore moral gray zones. At this age, they are ready for debates. Is it okay to lie to save someone? Such dilemmas link to their lives. Talk about posting someone's photo without consent. Use their context to spark reflection. Even at this stage, REST's 4-component case study model can be used. Give this prompt. You witness a classmate harassing someone online. What do you do? Do you report, intervene, or ignore? Let the children identify, recognize the issue. Is this harassment? Then they reach the judgment. What is the responsible choice? The next step is the motivation. Why act? Even if it risks friendships. And finally, the courage to act. How to respond constructively. REST four component model helps children move from just noticing a problem to actually doing the right thing, even when it is hard. It strengthens their ability to think clearly, stay motivated by values, and take constructive action in real life dilemmas like online harassment. Let us move to the next stage, that is secondary and senior secondary, grades 9 to 12. Older teens are grappling with issues like justice, equity, and career pressures. But if empowered, they act with conviction. Imagine a grade 11 student feels strongly against food wastage. He speaks out in school and leads a food sharing drive. You will find several such examples of empowered youth. When given voice, students act with deep purpose. Schools can create electives like media and morality or encourage civic engagement. Students at this age are preparing for adult ethical responsibilities. This is the age when abstract thinking deepens. Use debates. Let students lead ethical discussions once a week or a fortnight. They will learn not just to speak, but to listen. With teens, we must raise the stakes. We may discuss gender equality and social responsibility. Let the students run a mediation cell or lead a community project. Ethical thinking becomes real when it is practiced. A few tried and tested activities are, as we discussed earlier, the ethical dilemma discussion circles. How it works? Students are given a real world dilemma. Let's take the same example of bullying. A classmate is being bullied online. Ask the question: do you report it, intervene, or stay silent? Students form small circles, discuss options, and share reasoning. Each student must justify their decisions using values like fairness, honesty, and responsibility. Why this works? Research show structured peer discussions like Kohlberg moral dilemma method pushes students to think beyond personal interest toward broader ethical principles. At this age group also, the four component case study proposed by REST can be used. A teacher may give students a short case. A friend plagiarized an essay. The teacher suspects but asks the class, what do you do? Guide the students through REST 4 components, recognizing the ethical issue. Is plagiarism wrong or right, and why? Judgment. What is the fair choice? Next comes motivation. Why should I do the right thing even when it costs me? And finally, the courage to act. What would I actually say or do? These four steps turn abstract theory into a step by step decision making habit, making students more likely to apply it in the real life. Using REST model with cases like this, they help students see ethics as a clear step by step process rather than abstract rules. It builds habit of fair judgment, courage to choose values over convenience, and confidence to act responsibly, not just in school but also in real life situations like honesty in exams, online behavior, or later on in their life, workplace integrity. Dear friends, let us participate in a quick poll. So, the question for the poll is, where do you notice the most gaps in ethical awareness among your students? Is it online behavior, peer relationships, classroom honesty, or respect for differences? I'm repeating the question once again. Where do you see the biggest ethical gaps? Online behavior, peer relationships, classroom honesty, or respect for differences? We are waiting for your responses. So many are giving their responses. Ms. Kajal Kumari says online behavior. Ms. Anju says online behavior. Jasneet ma'am, online behavior. Anjali, we may close the poll now. So I see the response: online behavior 35%, respect for differences 27%, peer relationships 20%, and classroom honesty 16%. Thank you for sharing your thoughts, dear participants. From the responses, it is clear that we notice that ethical gaps are everywhere. This reinforces how ethical challenges often mirror the real life pressures that students face, whether it is navigating friendships, digital spaces, or respecting diversity in the classroom. But I am sure if consistently practiced, students will develop moral reasoning. Let us now see school systems that support ethical thinking. A school that suspends a student for every mistake may miss the chance to teach, but a school that holds reflection circles or peer mediations creates ethical space. Embedding SEL into maths problems, history debates, or lab ethics makes it real. And safe communication via suggestion boxes or truth circles amplifies a student's voice. Use these simple activities to spark real thought. Keep a what would you do corner in class. Weekly situations they can respond to anonymously or in pairs. Don't underestimate how deep can a child think when given the space. Think about it. In a world of AI, climate change, and cultural shift, our children will face dilemmas that we can't even imagine. But if they learn how to choose what is right, how to pause and reflect, they will be okay. It is not about perfection, it is about conscious choice. So, dear friends, let me ask you another quick poll question, which I feel is the most important. Out of the strategies that were discussed today, which one will you try first? The options are class debates on moral dilemmas, ethical journaling routines, ethic themed story sessions, or reflection circles after conflicts. I'm repeating the options once again: class debates on moral dilemmas, ethical journaling routines, ethics themed story session, or reflection circles after conflict. If you want to give some other answer out of these four options, you may respond through the chat box. So Miss Ekta is saying themed stories, Miss Tajinder reflection circle after conflict, Miss Minakshi reflection sessions, Ruchi Anand class debates on moral dilemmas. Thank you, dear friends, for your responses. Many of you are interested in starting with class debates on moral dilemmas. Some of you also say reflection circles after conflicts. What this tells us is that there is real enthusiasm for practical student centered strategies. And whichever one we begin with, the key is consistency in making ethics a lived classroom experience. Let us quickly see why it is important to empower parents and communities. See, parents are allies in this work. Just pause and think about the parents we work with. Unlike us, teachers, who see many students and observe so many behavior patterns, most parents only deal with their one or two children. They don't always know if a behavior is normal, if a choice is serious, or sometimes how to respond. Added to that is the pressure of work, social media, and constant comparisons. And it is easy to see why many parents feel lost. This is where we can step in by sending simple take home tasks, sharing short ethical reminders in our newsletters, or inviting them for sessions on digital responsibility and fairness at home. When we support them, we ease their struggles, and together, the parents and teachers, we make values last much longer for our students. Involvement of community members is also important. Community story sharing circles also have great impact on students. Teachers and schools may invite community members like grandparents, local leaders, shopkeepers, or even health workers to share short stories of ethical choices they made in their lives. Students see these real life models of honesty, fairness, and resilience beyond the textbook. Parents and community members feel valued when partnered in shaping values for the students. So, finally, I would like to conclude by saying that in such ever changing times as ours, ethical decision making isn't optional, it is essential. So, I would like to thank you all for listening to me. This brings me to the end of my presentation, and I would like to call Anjali to see if there are any questions that are to be asked.
Hi, ma'am. Thank you for joining us today. I hope you found the session very informative. And I would like to thank you, Savita ma'am, for a very engaging and informative session of a community of teachers. I'm sure that our teachers have a lot of takeaways from this session. Okay, let's take a one quick question right now. Ma'am, the question is, if we teach something in school and parents teach them at opposite at home, how do we instill values in children if this conflict is there?
See, first of all, we have to understand we are not talking about when it, like decisions. We are not telling our children that this is the right decision or this is the wrong decision. We are asking them to reason it. So when we are asking the children only to choose what is right and what is wrong and talk about why it is wrong and why it is right, so it can never be conflicting. It can never be conflicting because the child himself is giving the reason for any kind of choice that he has made, that why has he made that choice, what were the options that were there in front of him, and out of those options which one is best. And as I discussed, I would like to draw the attention that when a child reaches the higher stage of moral development as proposed by Kohlberg, sometimes they also go against the rule because the rule is not the correct one. So that is their thinking, their reasoning, that something that is fair for everyone is right, even if there is a rule or law that is against it. So our aim is to teach that reasoning, the ability to reason out why they have made a particular choice, and they should be able to justify their choice.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for such an insightful answer. Now, I will thank you everyone for joining the session. I hope you found the session helpful. If you have registered and filled out the feedback form for this session, check your participation record in the app in my learning section. I will guide you through the instructions. Step 1 is open the center app on your device. Step 2 is navigate to the ongoing webinar section. Step 3 is click on submit feedback. Please note that this option will be available at 6 p.m. Step 4, at the end of the session, we'll share a 4-digit code required for feedback. The code for today's session is 2492. I repeat, the code to access the feedback form is 2492. Complete the feedback form and you will be able to download your record of participation instantly. This new process was introduced to streamline your experience and ensure your participation is instantly recognized. Thank you all for your active participation in today's session. We truly appreciate your engagement. To register for more upcoming webinars, please visit the Center app. Thank you, everyone.
you